Welcome to the latest edition of our Seafood News Weekly Roundup show, brought to you by the James G. Murphy Company. I'm Murder Berry and SeafoodNews.com editor Michael Ramsing, coming to you from Toms River, New Jersey, just a couple days away from the long Memorial Day weekend, the unofficial start to the summer season. You might notice something a little different about my nose, so we'll pause here and toss it over to Murder Berry Newswire's Jamie Chadwick for more details.
Today is Red Nose Day, and the team at Urner Barry is sporting our red noses to ensure that kids are safe, healthy, educated, and empowered. Red Nose Day raises awareness and money to help kids who need it most, both at home and around the world, fighting poverty and hunger. Donations fund meals for kids, life-saving vaccines, education, clean water, and shelter. To learn more about this program and how you can make an impact, visit rednoseday.org or use #RedNoseDay on Twitter to show your support.
Thank you, Jamie. That's a good cause. As for today's show, we have a good one, with two great shrimp stories to cap off the program. But first, let's check in with some other major headline news from around the seafood industry. Fishermen's Finest and the Dakota Creek Shipyard in Washington have run into a Jones Act issue with the construction of the fishing vessel America's Finest, which is the largest catcher processor to be constructed in the United States in nearly 30 years. The issue involves some very complex rules under the Jones Act for what constitutes American-built vessels. At issue here is the amount of foreign steel that was once used to fabricate the vessel. If the vessel cannot get a congressional waiver from the Jones Act requirement, it cannot be used in the U.S. fishery. For Fishermen's Finest, they would have to sell the vessel to a foreign buyer at a deep discount, which would bankrupt the company and deal a serious economic blow to Washington State's economy and the U.S. fishing industry. Signs seem to point that this was an honest mistake on the part of the parties involved and that granting the waiver should be supported. In other news, Terry Banks, a lobster dealer from Nova Scotia, was charged by federal authorities in Canada with 4 counts of fraud and 3 counts of theft, alleging that he was part of a scheme that stole about $2.5 million from 4 different seafood companies. Banks' older brother also faces 6 fraud charges and theft charges, and a third man is charged with 1 count of theft and 1 of fraud. All 3 men returned to court on August 24th. Federal authorities said their investigation uncovered significant violations that had substantial reach and influence in the local, national, and international seafood markets. We stay in Canada and head over to Newfoundland, where federal fishery officials there opened the province's 3PS cod fishery for the inshore seasonal harvesters only. There is still no indication if the year-round offshore sector will be fishing. The offshore sector contends their 14% share of the 3PS quota is a key economic driver for the province. Earlier this month, the offshore harvesters Ocean Choice International and Icewater Fisheries suspended their Marine Stewardship Council certification for the 3PS fishery, so full research efforts could go towards figuring out the cause in a recent spike in cod mortalities. Finally, after weeks of anticipation, Alaska's summer salmon season is now underway as fishing on the iconic Copper River commenced on May 18th. The first 22,000 pounds of Copper River salmon was delivered to the Seattle-Tacoma Airport a day after fishing started. Since then, 2 additional openers have taken place, which have seen just about the entire allowable Chinook quota to be landed. The Alaska Department of Fish and Game is now taking a more cautious approach for the remaining Copper River openers, so king landings do not exceed fishing limits. Initial prices for Alaskan salmon were at or near record territory, according to reports from local markets in Alaska and Seattle. And just before we talk about today's top shrimp stories, here's a reminder that these stories and more seafood industry news, market quotations, and expert commentary are available with a subscription to Urner Barry's ComTel. Make a better business decision today and every day and sign up for the best market intelligence platform available to the center of the plate protein industry. As we mentioned at the top of our program, shrimp is today's top story, and we have 2 good ones for you today. First is a report from Oregon, where the state's cold water pink shrimp are finally being landed. The season could have opened by regulation about a month ago, but Oregon fishermen have just recently settled for prices lower than they had hoped for. The market prices now resemble levels similar to 2004 and 2006. Much of the West Coast pink shrimp is in the 250 to 350 size or smaller count, and processors say global inventories are already flush with this small size shrimp, which is making sales difficult. Some processors have instituted limits on how much shrimp they will even buy. Traditionally, sales to the European market help carry this fishery, but interest from the Europeans isn't robust, so traders have been forced to try and increase interest in sales here in the States with little luck so far. In other shrimp news, Ecuadorian farm shrimp production in 2017 is at record high levels, and the country's sales to the Asian market account for more than half of its output. Asia accounted for 56.5% of Ecuador's shrimp sales to date in April. This is a dramatic increase in Ecuador's sales volumes to the Asian market. Since 2014, Ecuadorian shrimp exports to Asia are up 100 million pounds. There are two key reasons for the sales spike of Ecuadorian shrimp to Asia. The first is Ecuador produces a head-on shrimp that the Asian market, specifically China, prefers. At the same time, shrimp production in China has not been able to keep up with the spike in domestic demand. A recent forecast said China will become a net shrimp importer in 2017 because of high demand and lower production. This has created a major shift in the global market share for Ecuador's shrimp, since buyers here in the U.S. and those in Europe have been unable to compete with Asia. This is clear given very flat sales volumes to what were once dominant market destinations for Ecuadorian exporters. And that's it for today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at James G. Murphy Company. The folks over at JGM are professional, commercial, and industrial auctioneers, and right now we're here to tell you about an upcoming event, an upcoming auction JGM is having for commercial grade fisheries equipment and real estate space in Astoria, Oregon. The auction will be held on Tuesday, June 20th, and includes over 50,000 square feet of facility space, ideal for a commercial seafood processing operation. The auction includes 1.6 acres of property, cold storage facilities, and a boat dock. Head over to murphyauction.com or call 425-486-1246 to learn more about this upcoming auction and how you can sign up for live online bidding. As always, you can tell us how we're doing on Twitter by tweeting at us at SeafoodComNews and at UB Seafood, and you can like Urner Barry and Seafood News on Facebook to learn more about what we're up to. For Urner Barry and Seafood News, I'm Michael Ramsing. Thanks you for tuning in. Just a quick housekeeping note that we'll be closed on Monday, May 29th for Memorial Day, and we'll be back here on Tuesday, May 30th. We wish all of you a very happy Memorial Day. Put some seafood on the grill and enjoy the time off. We'll be back here next week. See you then.